Greetings, mortals. I am Warevo, and today I'm gonna do something different. That's right, we are once again on the old PlayStation Underground discs. Issue number 1, disc 2, I believe. This has been the source of many firsts in my history as a gamer, and today I'm gonna share one of those firsts with you. Among the many demos that this disc comes with, you have Spider, which I've reviewed already, but the one we're going to be focusing on today is Tomb Raider. I have never played Tomb Raider before. I've seen people play it, but I've never actually played it myself. Now, I understand that Tomb Raider is one of the iconic games on the PlayStation, and Lara Croft has become a mascot of the console. Let's see if she holds up to my standards. I am aware that this is just a demo, so at some point I will find the full game and play that and review it in more detail. But for now, let's focus on the demo and what my initial thoughts are. Now, the first thing I noticed right off the bat, getting used to the controls, is that it reminds me a lot of the Phantom Menace, which I have that on my mind since I just finished reviewing it, but that's beside the point. But me being used to games like Kingdom Hearts and Ape Escape and games like that came later, I'm not used to games with loose controls like this. I'm more accustomed to the stiff, harder controls of Ape Escape or Gex 3. And the fact that this game has an auto-aim feature, that's also something that I'm not used to. I'll give it credit being a demo that it might not have all of the polish of the finished game, but I find it hilarious that the auto-aim causes Lara to flail her arms around like a monkey as she hopelessly tries to aim at the wolves. Another thing I have to point out is that I mentioned in my Phantom Menace review that the Tatooine level has a lot of stuff in it that's really just empty space with not a whole lot there. There is a whole lot more of that here. Holy crap. I mean, yeah, you have pillars and stuff like that, but you'd think there'd actually be things to interact with other than, well, the wolves and things like that. Yeah, there's a pool there, and I can kind of see what they were going with this being a tomb and been abandoned for probably centuries, maybe longer. But still, you'd think there would be more by way of wildlife or something, or enemies to fight. I do run into bats, but that's not until much later, and even the lack of music is really starting to put me to sleep. So far, it's not telling me anything. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm assuming I'm supposed to jump in that pond back there. But as you'll see, by the time I figure that out, the demo cuts out and I have to restart. I will stop and say that the graphics are amazing for the time. Back in the day when this game came out, these graphics were everywhere. The blocky polygonal look was really popular. And for those of us who were raised back in the times, it seemed like it couldn't get any better, which, now looking back, seems really dumb. But the polygonal look, the warping textures, this was common for PlayStation games. This was the standard look for PlayStation games. And this defined the console in its early years. And you can see right here that I'm trying in vain to figure out what on earth I'm supposed to do. Because games back then didn't hold your hand. You have Tomb Raider, the Duke Nukem Time to Kill. Those games didn't hold your hand. They didn't tell you what to do. They just dropped you in the game, sometimes with a tutorial level, sometimes not, and expected you to figure it out on your own. They didn't hold your hand. Where games these days will throw in tutorials a lot more frequently, and some of them will just straight up tell you, hey, idiot, go here, do this. Talk to this character. No, don't go over here, talk to this character. You can't progress until you talk to this character. I don't want to talk to this character. I want to go over here and explore. No, talk to this character. You don't get to explore the game. I miss the open world aspect of it, where you can just go anywhere. That's why I like games like Spyro and Gex and Kingdom Hearts. You can go anywhere. Yeah, there's a story, and sometimes you have to stick to a specific plot thread or a certain path during certain times, but for the most part, you can explore freely at your own leisure. But games back then often refused to hold your hand, often to the point of not giving you a story and just plopping you down in the hub world at the pause screen. I'm looking at you, N64 port of Gex 2. Yeah, I know it may seem petty, but games were simpler back then. Yeah, you can put air quotes around simpler if you want, because Duke Nukem Time to Kill was one of those games that was so confusing for me, even just in the first level, that I legit had to look up a walkthrough for it. And back then, this would have been one of those games for me. I probably would have had to look up a walkthrough for it. Because I legit have no idea what I'm doing. Now, if I were to give myself a little more time and play the actual proper game, I'm sure I'd be able to figure it out pretty quick. But just looking at it as a demo, I legit have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't even know if I'm going the right way or not. I can tell you with absolute certainty playing the demo that this wouldn't have been one of those games that I'd have fallen in love with as a kid. I would have gotten confused and shut it off within a few minutes. Like right here, it took me a few minutes to figure out what I was supposed to do. And by the time I finally did figure it out, I ended up drowning. And that's when I gave up. Well, I didn't so much give up as I did... You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna call it what it is. I did give up. But again, this isn't one of those games that I would have fallen in love with as a kid. I wouldn't have played this very much. But, at the same time, I can understand how this became an absolute cult hit. Because the game does look fun once I finally get used to it. But back then when I was a kid, I didn't have the patience for it. I had the attention span of, well, a kid. But I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna save the rest of my ranting for when I eventually get around to doing a review of the full game. Until then, I am Warevo, thank you for joining me, and God bless.